Well, hello everyone, and thank you for joining me for yet another Why Not Monday. Here today we are up on the roof of the Jonathan Club Town Club at the world famous Grill on the Roof. And it's nice to be open air with you this evening. We are traveling to Portugal today to taste wines that perhaps you've never had before, and wines that I hope and expect you to enjoy. I don't do it for your non-enjoyment. I do it for all of our enjoyment. The beauty of Portugal is in the array of native grape varieties that they have and grow and that are found within their different regions. And it's always fun for me. Of course, I love Cabernet and Pinot Noir and you know, all of the grapes that we all know and love. But it's so wonderful to find places in the world that have their own personality from their place and the grapes from those places. So with that, I'm going to, first, I just want to sneak a peek at who's here with me. Oh, yeah. Very nice, very nice. And so I want to, let's look at a few pictures. Hurani's in the house. Okay. So we're going to look at a few pictures, a very brief PowerPoint that I put together. This picture, it comes to us from the north of Portugal, the region of the Minho, which is a reference to in the background you can get just a little snippet of the Minho River, and this is the dividing line, the boundary of Spain to the north and Portugal to the south, and you can see the vineyards and the terraces, and it's quite beautiful. I've never been there. I long to go to Portugal, and well, there you go. I just long to go. So the next shot we have here is, well, now that's a bit of drama right there, don't you think? You know, Spain is one of Europe's most mountainous countries, and looking at this you can really see it, and you can see how the fingers of the mountains go right through go through Portugal as well, and so all of these mountains are creating different environments for grape growing. And I just love to look at that picture right there, that physical map of the Iberian Peninsula. We have what are those mountains called again? Oh, that's right, the Pyrenees. You can see all the way to the north the Pyrenees that separates Spain from France. And in the northwest, we can see well, you can't tell exactly where you are, but that is Galicia, and then bordering Galicia, we have the Minho. So we might as well go to the next map of Portugal specifically, and or not, I don't know. We can. I love this map. I just love to look at that. And we'll get a different view that Spain and Portugal, of course, have their set of islands that they control. For Spain, we go south to the Canary Islands as part of Spain. And then you see Madeira and the Azores, and those are part of Portugal. And we tasted, didn't we taste a sweet fortified? Oh, I just, just can't keep track of all the different tastings we've done. But another place I want to go is to the Azores and the Canary Islands and taste these volcanic wine.
Oh, I know. No. That's what. And if you want, I'll just go.
Is somebody telling me something? Anyway, the next slide, we can see the regions of Portugal. And so there it is in the upper left, the Minho, and the Minho is the overall region that we get our country wines from. The more regulated wines of the Minho are within the category of Vinho Verde. And it's funny that it's called Vinho Verde. It makes it seem the green wines makes you think that it is a white wine only, but actually Vinho Verde produces white and red wines. From there, well, I guess, of course, the most famous region in Portugal is from the Douriense region, where we get the dry wines of the Douro and the sweet wines of Porto. And you can see that's that kind of yellow area where the grapes grow. And if you follow the Douro River to its mouth at the city of Oporto, then that is the city that gives the port region or the port wines its name, and of course the major port for shipping. We are not tasting from there because I want to give you a different view. So this purple area on this map, Terras do Dão, which is again the regional appellation for the country wines, and you see under it the Dão DOC and the Lafosse DOC. These are the, as I say, more regulated, really higher quality wines. So we're tasting a white wine, although they do make red wine, as I said, from Vinho Verde. We're tasting a red wine from the Dão, and then we're going to go west of the Dão to Bairrada in the Berra Atlântico region. And in Bairrada, we're going to taste a red wine from there. And all three of these wines are from different native grapes of the region. I have some visitors. Where are my kids here? Tell them to pour tastes for themselves. There are glasses behind the bar. It's so good we're up here, and our interns arrived, and I want them to taste these wines along with us. So the next slide will bring us to the Vinho Verde region. And you see that it moves south, but we are tasting wines from the very north The wine that we're tasting, our Albarino, comes from the green area in the north. Actually, it's not Monção, but Melgaço. And we are there along the Minho River and in these granitic soils that we'll be talking about in a second. The next slide will put us into the vineyard. That's the same slide that we started with. I liked it so much, I wanted to kind of start there and almost end there. In the foreground of this slide, it's kind of hard to see what's going on there. And so we'll go to the next and the last slide so we can really start talking about the wines. So you can see that the vines are trained high so that the leaves are above, providing shade to the clusters of grapes that hang down, and you will walk under to harvest the grapes at harvest time. In Italy, we would call this way of training the vines pergola. These are trained in the pergola style. In Portugal, where we are, we call this vine training enforcado. And in many places, the other reason for having the vines trained high would be so that you could plant other crops down below, so to waste no space. If you look in the background, the other vines, you can see that there is some ground cover, and perhaps they do have other crops growing over there. But here you can see they've cleared the area and have steady path underneath the vines to when the grapes are ripe to harvest them. So, okay, enough pictures. We can address our tech sheets and our glasses. Wine number one is from the Quinta do Regueiro, from the far north on the border with Spain. This grape, this is really just one of many grapes that they grow in the Vinho Verde region. Traditionally, Vinho Verde wines were fermented and bottled young, and sometimes the wines would go through a second, well, some people call it a second fermentation. I think the next tech sheet is going to talk about the second fermentation. I kind of resent that term, fermentation. I call it a conversion of the acidity. Sometimes these wines would go through their malolactic conversion in bottle, and the result of that would give a spritz, because fermentation, any kind of fermentation or conversion in wine creates carbon dioxide production. And when we have an alcoholic fermentation, the carbon dioxide gases are allowed to release. Last week we had a traditional method sparkling wine where they had a second fermentation in bottle. And so because the second fermentation created carbon dioxide gas that was then trapped in the bottle, that gas dissolved into the wine, and that's how champagne is made. We tasted what we call a traditional method sparkling wine from Armenia last week. So when we come to this Albarino, and I'm sure more famous is a different spelling of this same grape. And this is, we're in Portugal, so we're speaking Portuguese. And so here they're spelling it Alvarinho, and we would pronounce that Albarino. Or maybe, I know in Spanish often V's are pronounced like a B, so maybe they do just call it Albarino. I don't speak Portuguese. I don't even speak good English, but I'm trying my best. In Spain, it's the Albarino grape. And this is a grape that when it gets riper, approaches, I have a little, it kind of sticks in here when I hear people describe Albarino as a highly floral grape, because I don't think even the ripest of Albarinos approach that. But when we put our nose to the glass, we often do get a sweet floral in Spanish Albarino. Here in the Vino Verde, it's a little less ripe. They harvest the grapes at a little lower ripeness, although this one is fermented to 13% alcohol. And instead of allowing the wine to go through this malolactic conversion in bottle, I think they don't allow any malo in this, that they are just fermenting the wine dry. If we look at the text sheet, you'll see that this wine is kind of done in two separate lots, where they've actually let the grapes soak with their skins for a brief period. Most white wines, the grapes just get crushed. We have the juice that we ferment, but here they're harvesting the grapes. They're de-stemming the grapes. That's going to pop open the grapes, and they're going to let the grapes sit in tank for a brief period of time in contact with the skin to get a little bit more flavor from the wine before they press the grapes into tank. And then the second set gets, so they're fermenting these two sets in different tanks, and the second tank is going to sit with the yeasts for an extended period, where they employ this technique called batonnage, where they actually stick a wand inside the barrel or inside of the tank, even if it's stainless steel, and they stir it up, because during fermentation, as yeast eats sugar and makes alcohol and carbon dioxide gas, the carbon dioxide gas keeps all the yeasts distributed into the wine. And so the yeasts are grabbing the sugar and consuming the sugar. Once all the sugar has been consumed and no more gas is produced, the yeasts will settle down to the bottom of the tank. If we want to get more flavor out of those yeasts, then that's the purpose of sticking the baton in the tank and stirring the yeasts up to, again, distribute them in the wine and to get more of that yeasty goodness out of the wine. Then when they're ready for bottling, and they're not saying anything about filtration, although this wine, as you see, I mean, it's a young wine. Yeah, right. The text sheet that I have is 2017, has a picture of the 2017, but we're tasting a 2019 wine. And for being very young wine, it has a fair amount of color, and that's because of the contact of the skin contact that the one batch that got blended in is contributing. You can even get a little sense of a little spritz even on the nose of this wine. You'll get more of it when you taste it. And that's because the tradition in Vino Verde is to have a young, fresh, kind of spritzy wine. And so now instead of like this conversion, they're actually adding a little splash of carbon dioxide gas to dissolve into the wine to add that traditional spritz that Vino Verde is known for. And, you know, on the nose, I get kind of I get lots of citrus, lemon, and even a little bit of orange tangerine fruit and orange blossom, almost peach blossom aromatic on the nose. A clear sense of stone. And we do have very granitic soils here. Decomposed granite is what the vines are planted in. And I've said this many times, and you know, I so love the sound of my voice that I don't mind repeating it, that when we describe granitic nose, ain't no granite dissolved. Granite don't dissolve. So what we are describing, this perception of granite or stone or sand, is really from the yeasts and bacteria that thrive in these granitic soils. And those yeasts and bacteria are on the grapes that then gets into the wine. And these aromas and flavors give us the perception of mineral, but it's really the result of the yeast and bacteria that thrives in these soils. It's kind of a beautiful thing. And so this is a fresh, ripe, somewhat floral, fruit and mineral white wine. And with Spanish Albarino, I often, because the nose tends to be a little sweeter and riper, you know, I say you smell sweet, but then you get fooled by a tart pucker. Let's see what we've got here. And yeah, it's there. It's relatively high acid. If, you know, I mean, if, in my world, we describe low, medium plus, high acid. I would put this in the medium plus to high acid, and you can discern for yourself how you would quantify the acidity on here. But however you want to describe it, the acidity is there. It's bright. It's refreshing to the palate. And if you have some food, it is going to cleanse the palate and get you ready for that next bite or that next sip that you may go to. Since I don't have food, I'll resort to the next sip. I think that the nose and palate are really one. There are no surprises. What I get on the nose, I'm getting on the palate. This clean, refreshing acidity, the citrus, the peach, the mineral. It's all there right there on the finish. And this is a dry wine with moderate alcohol. So the kind I really like, so that I can just have more of it. So a car just raced by. Are you able to hear the car? Or earlier we had helicopters. Is the sound okay to you? Or yes, I see thumbs up. Excellent. That's why they put this this microphone on me, so that you would hear me and not too much of the background. A little bit of background kind of creates the mood, don't you think? Okay, so now we're going to move south. Actually, maybe I do real quick. Let me see. Nah, forget about it. So we're moving from the Vinho Verde region just south to the region of the Dow. Terras do Dow is the Vino Regional, which is the overall region that gives us the country wines, and then the more regulated, better quality wines gets the Dow appellation. That is this middle bottle. Oh, I have my bottles. Do I have it right? Oh, I don't know. Anyway, here we have this grape called Alfroquero by the Quinta de Lemos in the Dow. And the region of the Dow is an enclave. The growing region has 3 sets of mountains that the grapes will grow in the foothills of these mountains. And the mountains are protecting the vineyards from the interior heat and the coastal clouds. So we are in a, well, it does get hot in the summer. You know, when I think about Portugal, I think in some ways Portugal has a certain simpatico with California, that we are, you know, on the West Coast, and we have a certain consistency of climate. Where there's a little bit more rain that comes in at harvest time off the Atlantic, but I think Portugal and California do have certain similarities and certain consistencies. Here, this Alfroquero grape is what? How can I describe? Well, when I look at it, it certainly has a dark color. So the grape skins certainly have a certain thickness of skin that gives it color and tannin. And I look at the viscosity on the glass, and it looks, well, it looks medium plus alcohol. Actually, it's pretty thick. Is it? Well, yeah, this wine is 14.5% alcohol. So this is a high viscosity, high alcohol wine. That makes sense that this hot, dry, and again, you know the story, hot during the day, and then the cool comes out of the mountains. So hot days and cool nights. And let's see what our tech sheet says. Alfroquero appeared in the Dow in the, well, after phylloxera. So sometime after, well, at the turn of the century, 1800s into the 1900s was where this grape started to be recognized and planted. We're at, well, what is that? 1,000 to 1,200 feet high altitude. This is a vineyard that eschews any kind of herbicides, trying to produce an environment for their workers as much as for the grape itself that is going to be making their wine. and hand harvested. It says here, cask by cask. A grape variety is referred. That's a reference to the grape variety. So they individually hand harvest the different grape varieties that they grow. And a second. So what's the second fortnight? The second half of September was when harvest was for. Well, of course, this is 20. Yeah, where the text sheet is actually the right text sheet. 2011. So it's kind of interesting that this wine is going on 10 years old, and visually it looks like a very young wine. This opaque black ruby core to a ruby rim, and some moderate staining of this high viscosity. Again, sandy, granitic soils. When I put my nose to the glass, I get kind of a cranberry. It's kind of funny. The color of this wine makes you think it's going to be this very ripe and black fruit, and yet I'm getting more red fruits on the nose. Cranberries, red cherries, maybe wild strawberry. Try that one on for size. And I'm not really good on my flowers. Somebody got a flower? A rose by any other name? I don't know that this doesn't have kind of a sweet rose. And a little plummy. Maybe it's more blossomy in the floral. And I believe this wine is all stainless steel. So fermentation, okay, in big wooden barrels and stainless steel tanks. So the large tanks, and by my nose, neutral, so that we don't really get oak influence as far as aroma and flavor. For here, the oak aging is used to help get a little bit of evaporation, which creates concentration of the aromas and flavors. It went through, the wine is made by malolactic fermentation in barrels of French oak and subsequent maturing in 18 months. So this wine aged for 18 months in tank and barrel, but big barrels. And a fair amount of acidity, 6 grams residual. Oh, they're describing jasmine. Well, I don't know that I would really describe this as jasmine, but like I say, I'm bad with my flowers. I think I do. They're saying jasmine and chamomile, and I think I like the chamomile descriptor better. It speaks more to me in my experience. And I'm getting almost a hint of cocoa. I don't know where that comes from. Shall we? So the wine is dry. I would call this moderate acidity. And medium, maybe even medium plus, very drying tannins. And it's funny, I think that, well, they said that they harvested the second half of September, but probably the growing season didn't start until maybe the end of March, beginning of April. So I'd have to do the math on that. When I get these very drying tannins, that is a hallmark of these old world wines. The new world, that although probably we have the same heat, having a longer growing season helps to ripen the tannins so that they're not quite so, I wouldn't call these austere, but drying. And, you know, when of these wines, I actually did taste, I got a sample of this wine before ordering it. And when I smelled and tasted this wine, and honestly, this is the first time I've ever tasted this grape variety by itself. It's usually one that gets blended with other grapes, Touriga Nacional and Aragonés, which is the Tempranillo grape in Spain. Bye-bye, tech sheet. I think this grape is reminiscent of the Italian Dolcetto grape from Piemonte. Sort of these red fruited, I think maybe Dolcetto, which is a funny name for a grape. Dolcetto is the little sweet one, but it does not make a sweet wine, makes dry wine, a little rustic, maybe a little bit more black fruit than this. I find more red fruits. Dry, and really, I don't know, that 14.5% alcohol for me is really, it doesn't drink like it's that high in alcohol. It doesn't drink hot. And so maybe I'm misinterpreting the acid. Maybe the acid is a little higher than I originally gave it credit for, that, you know, my palate is really kind of very refreshed. And I don't know. I just, I kind of like the wine and think that it's, just, it calls for food from those dry tannins. And the dry tannins, you know, add something fat to it, will actually sweeten this wine up. The miraculous transformation that food performs on wine. So next, we're going to move west from the center, north central Portugal. From the Dow, we're going to move west into Bairrada. We're going to go over the mountains. So we are going to have a little bit more of the coastal conditions that will be affecting grape growing here. And in Bairrada, the main grape is Baga, that grows in the barro, the sandy barro soils. So when I was studying and testing, that's it. Baga in barro from Bairrada. I'd say that 5 times fast. Baga in barro from Bairrada. And that's how we kind of, the little mnemonic device I played with to help me remember my grape and my place. This is yet another thick-skinned black grape. And, you know, I'm so surprised that, you know, here this Alfroquero is 10 years old. and still young and fresh. Maybe, you know, since I don't really have that much experience from it, it could very well be that maybe it's lost some of its fruit, but I find this wine very pleasing right now. Now our Baga grape is a 2014, so it's still going on 7 years old, and only 13% alcohol, which makes sense coming from the other side of the mountains, having this Atlantic condition to create a cooler growing region. And yet here, this Baga grape I think is showing more of the black fruits. More to the blackberry and black plum. Black cherries. There's a and I might go towards more of a violet nose and black raspberries. Yeah, it's black fruits. I don't know if it's because I believe these are more chalky soils. So it's interesting. This wine is very traditional in the manner that they ferment. The fermentation is done in cement lagars. You see pictures of people arm in arm over shoulder, in shorts, standing in these cement troughs, dancing and singing while they're crushing the grapes is what they do in Portugal and is what they're doing here to ferment these grapes. So a little of the terroir might be, okay, a little bit of toe jam, but, oh, bad joke. But these are traditionally fermented. Now it's interesting, it says 8 days in lagar. So they get into the lagars and they crush the grapes and then they get out, and it seems to me only 8 days of fermentation. And yet, look at how dark the wine is. My guess is that they're siphoning the wine, they're pumping the wine out of the cement trough into these large oval oak casks that probably after 8 days, my guess is that all of the sugars have not yet been fermented. But because this is a highly tannic grape variety, this is their way of managing how much tannin they're going to pull out of the grape skins. So, and you know, I tasted a Petite Syrah today that has kind of a similar, it's not chalk, it's almost like char. Or I don't know, maybe I want to switch it to kind of an iron, a scent of iron, or a little bloody, or maybe I'm just making something up, or you know what how I always say you can recognize and identify. So I'm properly recognizing this aromatic. I just can't find the right word to describe it to you. So let's taste this wine. I think a little bit more acid than the Alfroquero. I would put this medium plus acid, bone dry, and feel your teeth. I mean, we got tannin here. It's funny how these two grapes, these two wines, really for me, I guess I have to taste and drink them more to get that recognition that this is the taste and flavor of these dry Portuguese grapes. Because really, I have more experience in Italy, and these, you know, because of my experience with Italian wines, I would say our middle glass is more like a Dolcetto from Piemonte, and that our other red wine is more kind of like a Nebbiolo. It has the acid and tannin of Nebbiolo. So the more accustomed to these wines and grapes, the more I'll come to terms with them being, you know, this is the character of Portuguese wine, dry Portuguese wines. Funny, on the nose, I was all black fruit, and yet on the palate, the acid in the wine is bringing out more of the red fruits. So here I got a little fooled. It was black fruits on the nose, but red fruits on the palate. Very refreshing. Another wine that screams feed me, because again, the fat is going to coat those tannins and make it less drying and chalky on the teeth. Both of these wines will be wonderful with food. You know, I'm starting to get a little hungry. I wonder what Wendy's making for dinner. Honey! So I'm open for comments and questions. Anyone have a differing view? Or does somebody hate me for these wines? Do you like the wines? No, okay. You like the wines. Thank you for liking the wines. You can unmute yourself and talk to me. Oh, wait a second. Do you taste jasmine in the wine, in wine 3? In the third red wine? Gee, jasmine. You know, I'm not going to tell you no. I'm just going to say that I don't necessarily interpret the aromas and flavors as jasmine. Jasmine is, is a strong floral. Jasmine is an aroma that I get I tend to expect more on the highly floral white wines. So it's hard for me to
You want to sit up here and I'll put them on bigger?
Interpret that aroma that way. But there is definitely some kind of sweetness on the nose that is not showing on the palate, right? Now it could be, in the case of this chumbado baga from Barrada, that, you know, even though it's 7 years old, this might still be on the young side and needing more time. What's anyone else?
Paul?
Yes.
The last one, the Baga, when you were
Yes.
talking about aromas,
Yes.
I think bloody was an excellent choice when you said that. And we'd also add black pepper.
And black pepper. You know, when I said bloody because even though they're talking about calcareous, which is chalky soils, iron, when I smell iron, it's almost, have you ever cut your finger and,
Yeah.
right? And you can taste iron. It's something in the blood. And I get that on here. Let's see.
Which of these would benefit the most from more age, like of the reds? I mean, one's already pretty old, but if we're going to put one in the cellar for 10 years.
I think the Baga is definitely the more age-worthy. I'll have to find, I'm going to have to answer that question down the road when I get a younger Alfroquero and get to compare them side by side. What I love about these tastings that I'm doing with all of you is that even though I'm leading the tasting, I'm learning right along with you. And so thank you for giving me this opportunity to learn with you. But off the top of my head, I think that the Baga grape, which has really sort of
I like this one.
I thought I was going to be equating this wine before I tasted it with grapes like Petit Syrah or Tannat from the southwest of France, because these are grapes that have very kind of rustic, clunky tannins that can really overwhelm a wine. Well, not so much with Petit Syrah. Petit Syrahs tend to be, I just love the mixed berry fruit Petit Syrah and those tannins. But Tannat, I find Tannats to be, if there's not enough fruit in them showing young, you're never going to see the fruit in Tannat because those tannins are so strong and can overwhelm the wine. By the time the tannins in Tannat, fall out, the fruit has died. So, so I do think that this is almost more like a Nebbiolo. And, like Nebbiolo, it is an age-worthy grape. So I'm pleased to have an opportunity to taste this Baga with you. Thoughts? The only challenge, and of course, as the days go by, our days are getting longer, and so I won't lose sunlight. I don't know if I can. Oh no, you can still see me. It's still pretty light. But what am I telling?
7 minutes.
7 minutes before sunset. Oh my God. Oh my God. So who else? Come on, give me something. What? Oh, I got a question. Do you? No, I already did the jasmine and the wine. Yeah. Which of the reds would benefit from age? Okay, thank you. Okay, there you go. Vina Robles Winery in Paso makes a great Albarino, and a number of other less encountered grapes, and the prices are very reasonable. Vina Robles. Okay. Well, yeah, Albarino is a wonderful grape variety, very expressive, easy to like, great with food. So here's one, as I say, in Vino Verde, they tend to blend these grapes together. They'll do single variety, but they also blend their grapes together, white and, for the white wines and for the red wines. The beauty of it is that wonderful acidity that makes it so refreshing on the palate, something that we can enjoy just drinking it. Often they're 12 and a half. This is 13. It's not high. Okay. Oh, I got more. You're making me read. You're allowed to unmute yourself. What's the most famous, most collectible Portuguese wine? Yeah. I knew you were going to ask me that question. There is you'll have to email me that one because I can't dredge it up right now. I'll probably remember the second we close down the window. But there is a wine from the Douro, from the port region. Ferreira was the first one to make it from the blend of port grapes, but making a rich, full-bodied, dry red wine. And that was for a long time the most notable dry red coming out of Portugal. I'm blanking the name of it. And even though Ferreira sold I think they sold that vineyard. Somebody else continues to make that wine. So forgive me, I've forgotten what that is. But of course, the most collectible wines from Portugal are vintage port. And those are wines that live forever. Period, yeah. What California white wine would you say is most like tonight's white wine? Well, there you can find Albarino, California Albarinos. Actually, as this wine, as it's warming up, it is becoming more floral. Lots of peach blossoms coming out of this Albarino. So Albarino. As much as I would like to say Sauvignon Blanc, Sauvignon Blanc has the acidity, but a different aromatic quality to it. So you can find wonderful California Albarinos. Yeah, other than port. Yeah, I know. Well, other than port is the one I can't remember. There you go. I don't know. I think. So let me give a little commercial. Next week starts the first of 2 weeks in Santa Maria Valley in Santa Barbara. We'll be tasting next week 3 wines, 1 Chardonnay and 2 different vintages of the same Pinot Noir from vineyard in Santa Maria. The winemaker will be joining us, and I think my friend Jared, who is kind of helping is representing the wine. Many of you, I'm sure, know Jared Hooper, whether you know him or not, because he opened Faith and Flower and was the sommelier there. And so Jared is going to be joining us next week with James, the winemaker, and we're going to have a little round robin of tasting and talking about the vineyard, the region, the wine, and the winemaker himself, because he's quite a character to meet and know. Very likable guy, and makes some really good juice. So I'm happy to share that with you next Monday. And then the Monday after that, so James's wines are relatively new in the marketplace. Although he planted his vineyard in '96, he was mostly selling his fruit before actually starting to make his own wine. The second week, or the last tasting of the month, is going to be more established winemakers. But instead of tasting the Pinot Noir and Chardonnay that they're known for, because we'll be with, well, if I can twist his arm, Jim Clendenin will be with us from Aubon Climat, and Bob Lindquist from Coupe Winery. And the two of them, of course, were friends and partners in making wine. And Jim's niece, Marissa, but the grapes we're going to be tasting are going to be Bob's Grenache, Marissa's Terral and Jim's Nebbiolo from the Le Bon Climat Vineyard in Santa Maria. So the next 2 weeks should be a lot of fun. We'll have guest speakers that we can all speak to. And with that, I missed Peter's question. What did Peter ask? Well, Peter, why don't you unmute and ask me so that I don't have to, where are you? What type of, oh, I'm sorry, there you go. What type of food, yeah, come on, tell me. Talk to me, Peter.
Hi, Paul, how are you?
I'm good, where are you? I don't see you. Okay, it doesn't matter, I don't have to see you. Oh, okay. There, I see, oh, I do see you. You just have your picture.
Well, I'm here with Beth.
Hi.
Hi.
And Beth had a question and I had a question. I wanted to know which one you would pick to go with paella. And Beth, what's your question?
What would you pair food-wise the Albarino with?
Yeah, so I don't think that these two red wines would do well with paella because there's just a little bit too much tannin to kind of get in the way. You know, Albarino certainly will go with paella, or you know, maybe a lighter, I mean, Tempranillo or rosés with paella. Wendy, what have we had with paella? Dear, putting you on the spot, bail me out here, unmute yourself. Oh, she's trying to figure out how to unmute. I see you. Oh.
Well, how about just a cava?
Oh, yeah, well, there we go. Yeah, cava is...
Cava would be nice with a paella.
Paella. Well, it's ella, so it's hard not to say yeah.
I know.
Unless you say yeah. Yeah. So of course, cava is, you know, although, you know, I'm not really a subscriber to champagne going with everything, because I think in big, rich meat dishes like ossobuco, just, you know, is the classic that I go to. You know, sparkling wines, they get lost because they're too delicate. And yeah, they'll cleanse your palate, but they can't really stand up to it. But with a dish with like paella, that maybe even you're going to have some sausage or, you know, it's.
But a seafood paella would be nice.
Yeah, seafood paella, even if you throw in some sausage, I kind of like
vegetarian.
Or, oh my goodness, my wife is just, you know, making suggestions, which is why I'm glad you unmuted yourself. Thank you, dear. Yeah, so the Albarino would go, this Vino Verde, rosés. Brooke, what do you got?
I was getting lots of private messages coming through on my chat, so I was responding to them.
Oh, okay. Well,
got distracted. I eat paella. Are you still talking about paella?
Yeah, we're talking paella.
Oh, I always do Rioja because that's my dad and I. We went through San Sebastian and Rioja together, so we just drink, you know, Gran Reserva Rioja with paella.
Oh, Gran Reserva Rioja. Well, you know, I could kind of agree with you because a Gran Reserva had to spend 5 years aging before release. And so that will give the tannins time to ameliorate, to polymerize, you know, I'm dropping words now, so that the tannins will fall out. And So yeah, Rioja, a Grand Reserva Rioja. Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
I like it.
Marquez.
I mean, I was
Cristal or-
already in on Tempranillo, but okay, if you want to push me to a Grand Reserva, I'm with you.
I like
Yeah. Yeah. Missed you the other night. Oh, wait a second.
Wait, Paul. Also, what about chocolate?
What about congratulations?
Oh, thank you.
Oh, Sadie, married lady. Not yet, but getting there, huh? Okay, so what were you going to say?
Chocolate.
Chocolate. Oh,
Come on, with seafood paella. Yeah.
that's what I do with chocolate. You know, traditionally, they pour the chocolate from above and well, half of it goes on the floor until they catch it in the glass. But high acid, yeah, cleanse, beautiful. Yes, that's the stuff, chocolate. Good job. Spanish grape, we're in Portugal, but it's okay. Okay, gang, all this talk about food is making me hungry. I got to get out of here. Wendy's going to leave the computer and start fixing dinner. And as always, I am humbled by all of your presence with me. I can't thank you enough for giving me an excuse to drink wine with you. And I look forward to seeing you next week and the week after, and then we'll figure out what we'll do next. So, Nostrovia. I don't even know how to say it in Portuguese. Anybody know how to say cheers in Portuguese?
Nope.
Cheers.
Cheers.
See you later.
Thanks, Paul.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.